Welcome to the Teddy Smith Talk Show of America here at WPAT, New York City. And it's great to have Frank Allan here because he's going to tell us all about radio, because I love radio and he loves radio. And a lot of the listeners that listen to this show, Frank, obviously love radio as well. I just want to take the time to tell everyone that, for those people that don't know, you were born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. You started your radio career while in college in 1970, and as you were telling me last night, there was no internship to help you along, right? So you went to the School of Hard Knocks by hanging out at various local radio stations, getting familiar with all the DJs, and it was just an amazing experience for you. You've done some work at some of the biggest stations here in New York City, WWRL, WOR, WCBS, here at WPAT and ESPN, just to name a few of the stations. You've also been involved with Frank Allan Productions, producing radio and TV commercials and documentaries as well. And your most favorite documentary, I understand, when you were in childhood, was your idol Moondog, Alan Freed, and which he produced and narrated, I believe, which you narrated as well, right?
Wow, you know more about me than I know about myself.
And of course, we have to also mention your radio show. People can go to www.frankallan, P-R-O-D, as in production, PODOMATIC.com. Let's say it again, www.frankallanprod, P-R-O-D, .PODOMATIC.com. Do I have that right, or?
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely right.
Well, listen,
you took the long way around.
Okay.
But it was good.
Well, anyway, we got back around the corner here, so it's the 8 o'clock hour here at WPAT. And by the way, this show next week will be airing at 5 p.m. instead of at 8 p.m. Even though it's in the evening, we're going back to 5 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock. So you were actually very fortunate to be part of my last show at 8 o'clock. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, thank you. So what have you enjoyed most about your 30 wonderful years in radio?
I really appreciate that. You're making me sound young. Actually, it was 47 years.
Oh, 47 years. Okay, yeah. So we'll add a couple of years. What have you derived most pleasure about being in this industry?
Well, you know what? I got to do about everything that anyone could do in radio. From working in the music library to sweeping the floors.
And what was one interesting story you could relate to us as you go back in time that you think would be interesting for our audience to hear about tonight, about the life of Mr. Frank Allan in radio?
Wow, there's so many. You don't even have that much time, but I'll see if I could shorten things a little bit. I think one of the most rewarding times that I had in radio was probably doing a lot of interviews because I used to do interviews as well as a DJ, and doing a lot of interesting interviews of a lot of different people, from sports figures to radio people to actors, actresses. And I got a chance to meet these people and actually become friends. So I think that was like one of the most rewarding things. And not to mention production. Production was like really the highlight, because the thing a lot of people don't know, the thing about production as opposed to being on the air, you get to be more creative than to actually be on the air. But I was lucky because I was able to do all of that. So yeah, I think it was a rewarding thing, and maybe that's why I'm still here.
Well, that's important, because not many people have lasted 47 years in this business. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
What would you say was one of your most interesting, unique interviews that you've ever had? Do you recall one specific person, place, or thing, or one little story you'd like to tell about a female or male on your show?
Oh yeah. I did an interview with Muhammad Ali.
Oh, wow. How cool that is.
Let me tell you something, Teddy. I did 3 interviews in one day in the same area. I did an interview with Muhammad Ali, Aretha Franklin, and the late King Curtis.
Excellent.
All in one day.
And
And
what?
the thing, the thing. Oh, I enjoy Muhammad Ali because I got to see the real side of Muhammad Ali, not the salesperson. Not I'm the greatest and all of that. I got to see the softer side of Muhammad Ali, and the interview that he gave me was straight, nice and calm. He answered questions precisely, and that was something that I never really expected him. So that was a memorable situation for me.
And 3 greats in one day. Tell us about those other 2, like Aretha Franklin, for example.
Okay, now Aretha Franklin. I didn't sweat too much with Muhammad Ali, although I thought I probably would have, meeting a man that giant in the industry. But I did more sweating with Aretha Franklin than I did with anyone else.
Why is that?
I can't explain it. I'm sitting there knee to knee with her. You know, back in those days, we had the Sony tape recorders and a microphone and things like that. And I'm sitting there knee to knee with her, and I'm talking to her, and I was kind of green back in those days. You know, so I didn't really actually have the real skills of doing an interview. So it was so bad, and I have the tape, which I refuse to play for anyone. I was sitting next to her, talking to her, and then I just ran out of words to say. And then we cut the tape, and Aretha says, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you ask me this? Why don't you ask me that? And she made it easier for me. I never thought I would tell this story to anyone, but you forced it out of me.
Well, you're always welcome to play bits and parts of it, if you like, here on WPAT, at a future date, if you like. And if not, okay, I asked anyway.
It was so embarrassing.
And who was the third person you interviewed that day?
King Curtis. Remember
Sure.
King Curtis, of the Kingpins. King Curtis of the Kingpins.
And what did you remember most about that interview? Do you remember that?
Well, I didn't have a lot of interaction because he was getting ready to go on stage at the time. Because it was an outdoor concert. And we got to talk to people. We got to talk to them in between the acts. And so I only had maybe about 2 or 3 minutes to talk to him because he had to get up on the stage.
Sure.
But you know, he was a pretty mellow guy. He was very real. He was very you know, he was just grounded.
Yeah.
And so was Muhammad Ali, as you know, but you know that was Muhammad Ali interview was never forget it.
By the way, did you ever have a chance of interviewing Howard Cosell?
No, I never had to interview Howard Cosell.
Never had the grand opportunity, huh?
Not the grand opportunity.
And the reason why I ask you that question is because he was somewhat tight and close with Muhammad Ali over the years during the interviews.
Yes, they were good friends. They were really good friends. I've met Howard on occasions, but I never really had a chance to talk to him.
But he wasn't probably that easy to approach, I'm sure. Do you think?
You know something? I never approached him because I have a tape of Howard Cosell
Singing in the shower on WABC?
No, not singing in the shower.
Okay.
He was yelling at his producer and his engineer.
Uh-oh.
I'm a collector. I'm a collector of tapes, outtakes, and all of that stuff.
Oh, that's wonderful. Maybe you could bring them down here sometime.
I'll locate it and I'll bring it down. I'll let you hear it.
That'll be, ladies and gentlemen, it'll be part 2 with Mr. Frank Allan here. Mr. Frank Allan, part 2 on WPAT with Teddy Smith at a different hour on probably a different day, but that's a radio business for you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So Frank, tell us some of the interesting stories that you want to tell us tonight that people should say, I'm going to go to Frank Allan's radio show and listen to your show?
Well, I got to tell you, I try to reach a massive audience if I could. All ages, all ethnic groups. You know, I don't care who you are. You could be rich or poor, whatever. Because the music that I play is, they call it baby boomer music. People, baby boomers and beyond. And most of those kind of people listen to my show, but I also want to reach that teenager. And I got to tell you something. I did reach a few because I really remember getting calls and letters, particularly from this 18-year-old kid. And he told me, he said, I was listening to your show, and I got to tell you, I really love what you're doing. as a matter of fact, I would rather listen to the music that you're playing than to listen to Taylor Swift.
Okay. That must have made you feel really good, huh?
Yeah, it did. It did. Not that we don't have anything against Taylor Swift. No, she reaches a whole different generation of people. But when he told me that, I was saying, well, listen, if this young man could tell me that, I said, can you imagine what I can do? I can try to get others like that.
Now, you're the age demographic of your audience, as you just said, they're baby boomers, but yet you still have a young audience. If you just told me that you have somebody 18 years old calling in on your show.
Yeah. And you get people in their 30s, and these people weren't really born when this music was released, because my show dates back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Mm-hmm. And I play a lot of 50s music, the R&B, the doo-wops, that reflected that kind of message that sent positive thoughts out to people back in those days, as opposed to the music today. And so if anyone is going to listen to my show, and I really hope they do, go online, check out the website, all of the information, including all of the radio stations that I'm broadcasting on, it's there, and you could be linked to them. And it gives you the time and the days that I'm on the air with them. So
again, give us the website or any information how they can find you there.
Okay, the website is Frank Allan Prod. That's P-R-O-D, Prod. Frank Allan Prod at AOL. That's the email address. www.frankallanprod.podomatic.com. Podomatic, P-O-D-matic.com.
Excellent. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we're broadcasting this show live here at WPAT right now. And for those of people that are listening to it, and we have a great California audience as well, this will be rebroadcast tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. when you're sleeping, or maybe you're not sleeping. But you know what? What's great about New York City and Los Angeles is no one really ever sleeps overnight, or a great number of thousands and thousands of people, as you know, work different shifts and are up late at night and listen to radio all night, as opposed to other markets that actually are sleepy markets. But this one is definitely not a sleepy market, I guess, right?
Not. And you never know who's going to listen. I've had people tell me, radio people tell me, well, I don't know if they're going to be listening to my show. I'm working the overnight shift. But you got to think about this. I usually tell them, I said, think about this. Think about the watchman who's bored to hell and sitting in that lobby, and he has to have something to entertain him. The radio is there. Think about the people in the coffee shops overnight. The radio is there. They pump music into the coffee shops.
That's right.
You never know who's going to be listening.
And
you never know.
And now that I'm broadcasting this and saying this is going to be on tomorrow morning at 4 a.m., I'll be up tomorrow morning and I'll be listening to make sure the show's on the air. But nevertheless, I'm sure it will be on there. But you never know with computers these days.
Yeah, they kind of crash a little bit.
Yeah, it's not like when we were broadcasters, as you were telling me last night when we spoke, about that you still have the old the block and the splicing.
That's right.
And I'm sure like I still have scars on my fingers after all. No, only kidding. No, but I mean, it's great to have those things, and that's something that we could do a podcast with sometime in a video to show those people that have never actually witnessed some of the old technology that we used to use back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know something, Teddy, radio, a lot of people, we all know what radio is. We already know what a radio is.
It's like, as people know, theater of the mind, but beyond that, it's a lot more than that.
Exactly. But the younger people, I don't know if they know what a radio really is, because everyone is listening to their iPads and they're online with their...
well, that's their radio today. It's called the iPhone,
Exactly.
Everything's there.
Exactly. And that's why the Internet radio is booming pretty well. And let's say WPAT is not only on 9:30 a.m., but they're also around the world too. They're online. You can pick up them. That's the good thing about radio. It just blossomed.
Yeah, and also radio.com, iTunes. It's
that's right.
You can tune it in by going to WPAT930am.com, and also on other ways to download the radio station. So that's great because we get listeners from all over the world, as well as Frank Allan does on your show.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it. You got to excuse that beep if you hear one because someone is trying to contact me. But
well, tell them.
No,
You know what you do? You tell them during the beep in between. You say, "Listen, you got to be listening in tomorrow morning at 4 a.m."
for your beep.
And that's why people, enjoy doing this type of radio because I don't have a script here. We're just talking, having a nice conversation, and that's the way radio once was, I think. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I used to do what you do now. What you do now, I used to do that. I used to do interviews. I used to love interviews.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah, they are fun. Unfortunately, I don't get to do them anymore. I haven't done any interviews since I left terrestrial radio. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I always had a chance to do them. And like I said, I used to do not only just play records, but we mentioned last night when you called me last night, I did some news anchoring. Mm-hmm. And I got a chance to do all of that, which is good. Maybe, who knows, maybe sometime in the future I may do some interviews because there are a lot of people who have bands and things like that. They contact me and say, "Oh, we'd like to be on your show. Can you have us on the show?" Unfortunately, I can't do it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. If it were under another circumstance where I would promote the music and the groups, that I could do that. But right now, I'm not in a position to do that.
I see. Now,
but they are fun, though.
Oh, they definitely are, and if some of the greatest people that you've witnessed in the television industry when you were growing up. I'm sure you could give us one or two great names of the people that are listening to the show that probably may know the name, and then there may be people that may not know two or three names of some great TV talk show hosts that you used to listen to when you were a kid.
Well, there were a lot of them. One comes to mind, and I worked with him, too, before he passed away, rest him, Joe Franklin.
Oh, he's one of the greatest.
Yeah.
One of the greatest.
Let me tell you a story about Joe Franklin. I worked with him one time. I did some production for him. Mm-hmm. And he liked what I was doing. Whatever his product that he was looking for, I did it exactly the way he wanted. And when we played it back, and he looked at me, he says, "Oh, my friend, you're really great. You're the greatest engineer in the world." You know what I found out later? That he went back and told another engineer the same thing.
Oh, how about that? Well,
he had me going. I was believing him.
Well, maybe he felt at the moment that you were the best engineer at that moment in time, and then the other gentleman was also the best engineer at that moment in time too.
Yeah. But he was a really nice man.
Very nice.
He wasn't full of himself. Even if you called him on the phone, he says, "Oh yes, my friend, I want you to be on my show." Even if you didn't ask to be on his show, he would invite you.
Yeah, it was very, very nice, very cordial.
Yeah, very cordial guy.
Very happy. He'll help you if he could help you. He would do anything to help you.
I think he was born with that smile on his face.
Oh, I think so. So.
He was born with a smile.
Now, I want to tell our audience that it's very important that they should know that your favorite disc jockey growing up and the person that you really admired, his name was Alan Freed.
Moondog Alan Freed. And, even today, I listen back to some of his old... I have a lot of his air checks here.
Oh, we should play them here at WPAT one night.
Absolutely. I'll bring a bunch of them
when
I come over.
Of course.
But I have a lot of his air checks. I have some behind-the-scenes conversations with him. And Alan Freed, the first time I ever heard Alan Freed, I said, okay, that's it. I know exactly what I wanted to do. And I was only about 4 or 5 years old at the time.
Wow!
But I did get to understand radio even at that age. And when I heard him on the radio, because my mom and my dad used to always ask me, "Well, what do you want to be when you grow up?" There were so many things at that time I wanted to be. I even wanted to be a minister.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they wouldn't have me now. but when I heard Alan Freed the first time on the air, I said, "That's it. That's it." Mm-hmm. I said, "I don't know how I'm going to work this, but I'm going to do it." And
Now,
you know something? When we do another show, we get the chance to do another show. I'm going to tell you a story about my very beginning, because my mom took me to a broadcasting school, which I begged her to take me to.
and what was the name of that? Do you recall?
Back in those days, I think I was like 14 years old. It was called Career Academy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if it exists anymore, but it was like a Career Academy had different divisions. It had nursing, careers for other technical things, and broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom took me there. I saw it on TV, and the announcer on the air on the TV said, "You can be a radio announcer in 6 weeks."
That's right, 60 days to a new future. That's right, and yeah, go ahead.
We know better, right?
Yeah, that we do. Yes, we're gonna have you in a major market in 2 months. That's right. Bring your checkbook while you're at it.
That's exactly what that was, and my mom knew that. And she told me on the way back home, she said, "I'm not paying for that." And I didn't talk to my mom for 2 weeks.
Really?
Because I said, "Mom, you're hindering my career. I want to make something out of myself. I'm tired of being a bum," and, things like that, But I understood, as I got older, I understood why she did it.
And why was that?
Well, because she said to me, she said, "No, what you're going to do, you're going to finish high school and you're going to go to college." All right.
All right.
And when I got to college, by the time I got to college, I was a trumpet player.
And I'm sure you were good at it too.
Oh, I tried. I was a trumpet player. I played in a band. I played in the city college band. The orchestra.
Do you still have that trumpet?
I lost it. Someone stole it from me.
Do you still have a trumpet at all?
No, not
at this
all.
time. Okay.
Not at all. So when I played in the city college band, do we have a lot of time left? No, because I can go right through the story quick as possible.
Yeah, why don't you do that? We have a couple minutes, and then I have to take care of something right now. I have to put a commercial in, but that's okay.
Okay.
Keep going.
The short of it all, I went to go study. I went to the lounge to go study. And in the lounge, there was music coming out of there. They were piping music into the lounge. So I'm sitting next to this girl, and I heard the announcer say, "This is WCCR City College Radio." And I went to City College in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "City College?" I said, "This is City College." And I was talking to the girl. I said, "That's good music. Where is that station?" She says, "It's in the building here somewhere." I grabbed my books. I ran, and the first person that I saw that was working in the building, I said, "Where is that radio station?" And she says, "It's upstairs on the fourth floor. I grabbed the elevator. I went to the 4th floor. I found the station. I knocked on the door. I went inside the office, and I said, "I'd like to speak to the person that's in charge." When I spoke to the person, I said, "Now listen, I don't have a lot of time for playing around here. You tell me exactly what I have to do to get on this radio station." And he said, "Are you a student?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Well, you got a plus there." He said, "Come back tomorrow, we'll audition you," and that's how the whole damn thing started.
Boy, and how long was your audition for?
Oh, it seemed like an eternity because I was pretty nervous back then. It didn't take long. Back then we did live auditions. There was no tapes back then. We didn't do tape.
Now let me ask you something, Mr. Frank Allan. What was it that inspired you about the late Mr. Allan Freed's personality that made him outstanding, if not the number one disc jockey that you grew up listening to, but that you sort of can say this person was a lot different than most of them and much better than most, I'm sure.
I saw him, he was personable. I never met him, but listening to his show, he often talked about the teenagers on the air. When I used to watch his movies, he had nothing but teenagers on there. He was an advocate for young people. And I said, "Man, this guy is good." Everyone loved him. All the kids loved him. And I said, "That's what I want to be just like that."
Uh-huh.
He was like grounded. I mean, totally grounded. I mean, if anyone said anything bad against teenagers, he would go on the air and call them out.
Listen, I'm going to invite you back in about a week or two and have you come back for part 2 of Mr. Frank Allan here at WPAT. Can you imagine we've just done 25 minutes already?
That's fast. That's fast.
Frank, just give us again, how people can reach you either by email or on the website when they can hear your show.
Okay, I'll give you the website first. Again, it's Frank Allan Prod. Allan is spelled Allan. frankallenprod.podomatic.com. The email address is frankallenprod@aol.com. And my telephone number is 641-715-3900, extension 467-134.
What can you leave our audience with tonight about the life of Mr. Frank Allan, or those people that want to get into radio? Anything you want to share with us tonight?
Yeah, just be yourself. When you go into broadcasting, if you ever want to do broadcasting, be who you are, and never. This is the top thing. Never make the show about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's always about your audience first. And a lot of people make that mistake, Teddy, of the show being about them. If you turn on the radio, sometimes you'll hear the jock on the air, and you can tell the show is about him or her. Mm-hmm. Never, ever make the show about you. Always your audience.
Mr. Frank Allan, it's been a great pleasure being here with you this evening here at WPAT, and look forward to having you back tomorrow morning at 4 a.m.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
You too.
Bye-bye.